Thank you. It's not just Leader McConnell, of course, and Republicans who are taking issue with some of this plan. We've seen some Democrats also voicing some concerns. So what is the president's message to these progressive members who say this plan doesn't go far enough?
Well, I think we would say this is a two-part proposal. One, it's an enormous investment in our infrastructure, in our roads, our railways, our bridges, our broadband, our waterways, and ensuring people have access to clean water. It accounts for, I think the number is about 1% of our GDP, so it certainly is a significant attempt to address that. It's also a two-part proposal, and the president will be speaking more in the coming weeks about how we can do more to help our caregivers, well, some of that was in this package, but help address the needs of child care, help lower the cost of health care, and help do more to ensure we're easing the burden on families across the country.
Is the president confident that he can get Democrats united behind this plan?
I think the president believes that Democrats, that independents, that Republicans, as we've seen in polls across the country, believe that we should do more to invest in our infrastructure. And infrastructure means ensuring there's access to broadband. Infrastructure means ensuring that we rebuild our roads, our railways, and bridges. That's something that Democrats, Republicans, independents have talked about, the fact that it's long overdue for some time now.
And why are you splitting this into two parts? Is that a sign at all that you think the infrastructure portion, this first part, is something that you have a greater chance of getting passed?
I wouldn't overread into it in that way. We don't know what the legislative functioning or process will look like at this point. We're actually quite open to congressional committees moving forward on certain components. We're very open to members of Congress coming back with different ideas about how we can achieve the objectives outlined. It's an opportunity to lay out in a speech what our objective is, which is to compete with China, invest in infrastructure, and separately lay out in a couple of weeks what we need to do better as a country and as a government to help families address the needs of childcare, and that's why he's splitting it up.
And you've made clear, you've reiterated here, the president has also said, you're open to alternative suggestions for how to pay for this. But just to be clear, is the overall price tag here open for negotiation, or just how to pay for this?
The president proposed, based on the advice of economists and economic experts, how he feels we can achieve these objectives. We'll see what others come forward with in terms of different proposals or different ways to rebuild our infrastructure and ensure we're competing with China and better positioning ourselves in the world.
And just one last question on the impact of this. The president said yesterday that along with the stimulus bill, an estimated 18 million jobs could be created with this plan. We've seen a recent S&P forecast estimate that more than 2 million jobs would be created. What's the range that the White House thinks in terms of how many millions of jobs will actually be created by this plan?
We expect there'll be a number of outside economists who will, and economic forecasters who will do projections in the coming days. We'll see what those look like. We expect them to be right in the ballpark of what the president said yesterday.
But why not put out your own suggestions here? I mean, you're asking for $2 trillion. Why not put out an estimate of how many jobs will be created?
We certainly expect there'll be a range of numbers that you all can refer to that are done by outside analysts, and that that's a really effective way to give a sense to the American people of what can be expected from this package.